Before we get into the video, could everyone please subscribe to my Endless Diary Tales channel? Thank you so much. During the trip, I had a cold war with Alex. When the train arrived at the station, he got off without waiting for me. By the time the conductor woke me up, we had already passed my stop. Surprisingly, I wasn't as upset as I thought I would be. I calmly bought a new ticket. Turns out goodbyes are often silent. You didn't get off the train? Yeah, I fell asleep, he replied with a string of ellipses, then sent me a location, a hotel address. I'll wait for you. I can be there by 9. I glanced at the time, 2 hours until 9. If I got off at the next stop and hurried back, I could make it. Outside the window, vast wheat fields stretched under the morning sun, rippling like golden waves. It was breathtaking, but I didn't linger. No need to wait. Leighton broke up. His end showed the typing indicator flashing on and off, but eventually, his reply came up. You. There was no argument, no drama. Just like that, our 6-year relationship ended quietly. The woman sitting next to me noticed my expression and poured me a cup of warm water. Trouble with your boyfriend, sweetheart? I took the cup and smiled, shaking my head. I met Alex when I was 17. In all these years, I'd never seen him argue with anyone. The first time I met him was during our high school's New Year's Eve event in junior year. My male co-host had backed out last minute because his girlfriend got jealous, so Alex was pushed on stage as a replacement. He had jet black hair that just brushed his eyebrows, a narrow and straight nose and soft pink lips. He looked like he'd stepped straight out of a comic book. Maybe it was the atmosphere, but my heart was racing. I started finding excuses to be near him wherever he was. Before morning classes, I'd rush in, sweating, and leave warm buns and milk under his desk before running back to my seat. Once, during a competition, he left the stage midway. I pushed through the crowd like an arrow, the first to hand him a bottle of water I'd kept close. He smirked as he took it. Why are you everywhere? I tilted my head up, boldly declaring, I like you. You're persistent, he chuckled, taking a sip. Water trickled from his lips to his Adam's apple as he added, I don't like you. Let's see how long you last. Probably a month. I stared at his damp lips and made a silent vow. One day I'll kiss those lips. With a determined smile, I replied, You're on. You're going to lose. Alex was proud, like a prince born to stand above everyone. His heart was as cold as ice, and he rarely let anyone in. But once I decided on something, nothing could stop me, not even 10 wild horses. I foolishly believed I'd be the exception, the one to break through his barriers. Many pursued Alex, but I was the only one who stayed the course. Balancing school and chasing him, I managed to scrape my way into the same university as him. At the freshman orientation, I swapped my thick glasses for contacts, wore trendy makeup, and showed up in a pale yellow sundress to catch his attention. His usual indifference cracked slightly as he paused and teased, Not giving up, huh? Not long after he agreed to date me, his quick acceptance felt surreal. Later, while waiting for him to finish class so we could grab dinner, I overheard his friend ask, Didn't you say you didn't like clingy girls like her? Alex, still typing on his phone to reply to me, glanced up briefly and said, My girlfriend's been waiting a while. Let's grab sushi. It's her favorite. Then he looked back down, continuing to text. In his eyes there was an unmistakable hint of laughter. So if you don't like someone, you can't be with them. From Alex's perspective, I just happened to align with a path he had planned for himself, so he let me tag along for part of the journey. It had nothing to do with love. That said, after we got together, he was, objectively speaking, an excellent boyfriend. He surprised me on anniversaries, carved out an afternoon in his busy schedule to hand-make matching mugs with me, and even tolerated my absent-minded moments. One time, I was so absorbed in revising my thesis that I left him waiting on the roadside for 3 hours. When I arrived, breathless and full of apologies, he simply smiled, gently tousling my hair. It's fine, he said. Feeling guilty, I took him out for an extravagant dinner to make up for it. He didn't protest, but by the end of the night, I discovered he'd secretly paid the bill in advance. Despite these thoughtful gestures, ever since overhearing his conversation with his friends, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Our relationship never went beyond kissing and hugging. It felt like a ticking time bomb just waiting for the right moment to explode. Perhaps it was the soft night, the perfect atmosphere, or the mounting pressure as graduation loomed. Whatever the reason, that night I couldn't hold back anymore. I kissed him impulsively, starting from the tip of his nose and working my way down to his throat, where his Adam's apple moved under my lips. He bent slightly, studying my way, his beautiful brows drawn together as if suppressing some emotion. His voice came out hoarse, barely recognizable. "Do you even know what you're doing, Emma?" Under the warm yellow light, I braced my hands against his firm chest, tracing circles on his tense skin with my fingertips in a teasing manner. "Alex, are you even real? You feel fake to me." He let out a soft laugh, almost mocking, and with a slight shift of his lean waist, he effortlessly repositioned me into a more suggestive stance. His calloused hand lightly cued the back of my neck, the pressure a mix of pain and pleasure. "Still think I'm fake now?" he whispered as he gently kissed away the tears on my face, his voice carrying a seductive edge. His question left me blushing furiously, and I quickly let go, mumbling an incoherent apology. After graduation, Alex followed his professor to a lab in City A. He asked me whether I wanted to pursue my own path or move with him. His expression was calm, as if it were a routine decision. I chose to follow him, and we settled down in City A. He introduced me to and we began discussing engagement plans on our 5th anniversary. Alex brought home a fluffy white kitten, handing it to me. He said, "Name it." Excitedly, I cradled the kitten in my arms and thought for a moment. "How about Dumpling?" Alex glanced at me playing with the kitten, the corner of his lips lifting slightly. "Your mom's such a foodie," he said to the kitten. "Even the name she picks revolves around food. Dumpling, you'll have to keep mom company, make her happy, and don't let her get upset. Otherwise, I'll dock your treats." I couldn't help but laugh. "Alex, are you even human, threatening a kitten like that?" His gaze turned darker, his eyes fixed on mine. "I'm not always human. Sometimes I'm a beast." Before I could respond, he bent down and scooped both me and the kitten into his arms, carrying us toward the bedroom. "Alex, I'm tired. Let's eat first." I protested. "When have you ever had to work hard?" he teased, his tone shameless. Blushing with indignation, I smacked him lightly. He clutched his chest dramatically, pretending to be hurt. "You have to take responsibility for me for the rest of your life now," he declared, grinning. In those moments, I truly believed in our future together. Even the little cracks in our relationship seemed insignificant, easily smoothed over. But then Dumpling died. He was less than 2 years old. Something broke inside me at that moment, though I couldn't quite put it into words. When I returned from my business trip, Dumpling didn't rush over to rub against my legs and act cute as usual. I walked over to pick him up, but he shrieked, scratched my arm, and ran away. Alex quickly checked my injury, insisting on taking me to the hospital for a rabies shot. He reassured me, saying, "Maybe it's because you've been away too long. Dumpling's pregnant after all." But something felt off, terribly off. Dumpling had always been gentle and timid, not the type to act out, much less scratch me. And besides, Dumpling was a neutered male. I grabbed him and carefully checked his front paw, where there should have been a scar, but there wasn't. This cat, who looked just like Dumpling, wasn't Dumpling. Alex's expression shifted subtly, though he smiled and said, "Are you sure you're not mistaken?" He didn't know about Dumpling's scar. He hadn't been there when it happened. It had started one evening when I took Dumpling for a walk outside our apartment complex. A dog suddenly lunged at me, tearing at my clothes. Dumpling, fur bristling, leaped at the dog and clawed at its eye. Though Dumpling drove the dog away, he was badly injured. His entire front leg was nearly severed, barely hanging on by a strip of mangled flesh. After a long recovery, Dumpling was left with a scar that was impossible to miss. At the time, Alex was consumed with a new project, spending months holed up in the lab working overtime. Even when he came home, it was only for a brief moment, so he hadn't noticed. I never told him either. When I pressed him further, Alex finally admitted the truth. He'd been too busy to care for Dumpling, so he brought him to the lab. There, a new assistant, unaware of Dumpling's significance, mistook him for a lab animal. Alex tried to defend her, saying it was an unintentional mistake. It was just an accident. He insisted the man standing before me, calling himself Dumpling's dad, showed no trace of grief in his eyes. This was the same Alex who once went out of his way to buy Dumpling new toys, and yet now our Dumpling was gone, and the only one heartbroken was me. We had a massive argument, or rather I screamed and cried while Alex remained calm. Compared to his composure, I must have looked like a hysterical mess. He held me tightly, trying to soothe me. "It's just a cat, Emma. If you don't like this one, I'll get you another." To Alex, a cat's purpose was simple companionship. Replacing one with another made no difference to him. But how could it be the same? How could any other cat be Dumpling? It was just like a wife. How could anyone but me be his wife? Alex accused me of being too emotional, overanalyzing everything. "Don't overthink it. We're going to be fine," he said, but I knew we weren't fine. We would never be fine again. The dream I had carefully woven for myself shattered. Alex, with his cold reality, showed me that the memories I thought were special were not unique. They could be replaced. All the years I had spent chasing after him, trying to keep up, had been a joke to Alex. A wife could be me, or it could be anyone else, just like Dumpling. Any cat could be Dumpling. No matter who filled the role of a wife, Alex would do it well. He would be a good husband. But he wasn't good to me, Emma. And the most heartbreaking thing was I knew deep down that Alex didn't love me as much as I loved him. And yet I couldn't stop my feelings for him. In this relationship, he had the upper hand, always with a way out. But all of this began because I was drawn to him at first sight, like a moth to a flame. I didn't even have the right to feel wronged. I didn't want to see Alex. Work became a convenient excuse, and I buried myself in it, often staying at the office late into the night. But every time I thought of Dumpling, my heart ached. I could still picture him tilting his head, sitting by the entryway, ears perked up, listening for the sound of me returning home. He jumped into my arms, purring and playfully nudging me when I brought out a new toy. His beautiful round eyes would light up, and he'd meow insistently, begging me to play with him. I had bought a new toy for him, but now he'd never get to see it. 3 months into my silent standoff with Alex, he suggested a break-the-ice trip because his work required him to be on call. Our travels had always been limited to areas near City A. This time, however, he took extended leave to visit City C, a place I'd long dreamed of seeing, over 1,000 miles away. It was peak travel season, and the last-minute plan meant plane tickets were sold out. He managed to get us train tickets, though our seats were 2 cars apart. When we arrived in City C, the train only stopped for a few minutes. Alex got off, but I missed the stop. I was feverish, exhausted, and disoriented. By the time I got off at the next station, I hailed a cab to the nearest hospital, where the doctor said my immune system had weakened from overwork. While I was getting in for drip, I ran into one of Alex's colleagues, or more precisely the assistant he had mentioned, Lucy. She recognized me immediately and explained that she'd seen my photo in Alex's wallet. Lucy bit her lip and lowered her eyes, her voice filled with remorse as she apologized. "I thought Dumpling was just a lab animal. When I found out the truth, I wanted to stop the experiment, but the data was so perfect. Alex had no choice but to sacrifice Dumpling and go along with it. We needed 3 consecutive trials to get the most accurate results, and thanks to Dumpling, Alex's project was a success. He's even up for a promotion this year." I stared at her in disbelief. "What did you just say?" Lucy blinked innocently, as if she hadn't said anything shocking. Then with a bright smile she repeated, "Alex's project was a success. He might get promoted this year. Please put in a good word for me with him, okay? I'm hoping to stick around under his mentorship." I laughed, but it wasn't from amusement. It was the laugh of someone who had just realized how cruel reality could be. Dumpling had been sacrificed for Alex's career. The room spun, and the next thing I knew, everything went black. I had a dream. In it, Dumpling was convulsing, foam spilling from his mouth. Even in his final moments, he waited for Alex to notice that the wrong cat had taken his place. Meanwhile, Alex was doting on another cat, calling it Dumpling. Beside him stood a woman who looked eerily like me. Only she wasn't me. She was his wife. I jolted awake to find Alex sitting by my bedside, his face full of worry. "You're awake. How are you feeling? Does anything hurt?" I cut him off coldly. "Why didn't you stop the experiment?" His hand, which had been reaching to check my forehead, froze midair. Without answering, he turned around and started unpacking a takeout container. "You've been unconscious for 3 days, you must be starving. I got your favorite century egg and lean pork congee. I even asked the chef to add shrimp for extra nutrition. The doctor didn't know when you'd wake up, so I reheated it every 3 hours." He opened the lid, tasted a spoonful to check the temperature, and then handed the bowl to me. "Just right." Now I forcefully shook off his hand, and the takeout container fell heavily to the floor, scattering its contents everywhere. The sharp grating sound of metal clashing against marble filled the room. Alex took a deep, frustrated breath, lowering his gaze. "I came running the moment I got the call. I haven't left your side for 3 days, making sure you didn't hurt yourself while unconscious. And the first thing you do when you wake up is grill me about that damn cat?" His hands and face were a mix of indignation and anger, emotions flickering back and forth. I met his gaze directly and sneered. "Oh, so you do get angry?" His lips twitched into a humorless smile, his expression growing cold. "About Dumpling, I don't think I made the wrong decision. His sacrifice wasn't meaningless. Why can't you let it go?" His unapologetic attitude hit a nerve, and I snapped back. "Alex, you're nothing but a selfish, hypocritical bastard." He let out a cold laugh. "Yeah, I'm selfish, and you, Emma, must be some saint, right? But don't forget, you were the one who chased after me like a lovesick puppy, sticking to me like glue no matter how hard I tried to shake you off." He grabbed my chin, his eyes narrowing. "What now? You finally seen the real me, and now you regret it? You want to break up? Come and go as you please, huh? Do you think I'm going to beg you to stay, cry, and plead with you?" He leaned in closer, his tone icy. "Don't even think about it. That's never going to happen. There are plenty of women out there who are smarter, prettier, and better than you. And you, Emma, you're nothing." A chill ran through me, and for the first time, I felt sorry for the girl I used to be. The one who had worked so hard to create beautiful memories with someone who valued them as nothing. My sincerity had been wasted, fed to a dog that didn't care. The pain was so overwhelming that it left me eerily calm. "Fine," I said quietly. "You can go. Let's not see each other again." Alex froze for a moment, his expression unreadable, then let out a self-deprecating laugh. He ran a hand through his hair, clearly agitated. "You started this, so you handle the engagement. You explained to both families." I nodded. He hesitated for a second, then walked away, his movements slow and deliberate. In the past, the slightest furrow of his brow would have made me chase after him, wrapping my arms around him from behind and pleading for forgiveness. But those tender gestures were meaningless to him, cheap, laughable. The doorknob finally turned, but before he could leave, I called out to him. He stopped and let out a faint scoff, the sound amplified in the stillness of the room. Turning slightly, he tilted his chin as if expecting this. "You're the one who likes century egg and pork congee," I said flatly. His eyes widened in surprise, his composure cracking for the first time. "I'm allergic to shrimp," I added, my tone just as calm. Alex's expression shifted from disbelief to panic, and then to an attempt at faint indifference. Without another word, he hurried out, his retreating figure looking surprisingly disheveled. As for the engagement, my excuse was that I was going abroad for further studies. It was a weak reason, but Alex's parents didn't object. Before I left, Alex's mother pulled me aside. "Emma, I'm sorry on behalf of that foolish son of mine." Her apology caught me off guard. She handed me a bag. "I know what kind of person Alex is. He's had a bad temper and terrible habits since he was a kid. Frankly, I'm amazed you put up with him for so many years. If I were you, I'd have slapped him ages ago." My hand had a comforting squeeze. "I support your decision to study abroad. Please visit us from time to time. No matter what happens between you and Alex, you'll always be welcome here." Her words were warm, but they only made the cold emptiness in my chest feel sharper. "But I've long since thought of you as my daughter," Alex's mom said softly before stepping back. "I have to go," I said, keeping my voice steady. From a distance, Alex stood with his hands in his pockets, a look of impatience on his face. After I got into the car, he started the engine, his expression cold. "If it weren't for my mom, I wouldn't have bothered driving you," he said flatly. I ignored him and opened the bag his mom had handed me. Inside were all the red envelopes, jewelry, and gifts they had given me over the years, worth over $1,000,000 in total. Take this back, I said firmly. Alex glanced briefly at the contents while gripping the steering wheel. His tone was icy. I don't want anything you've touched. It's bad luck. Alex had a face so stunning it could make anyone stop and stare. But he was also ruthless to the core. When he was in a good mood, he seemed harmless, even charming and funny. But if he was upset, his sarcastic remarks could cut deep enough to leave a person's bones aching. I suddenly remembered an incident from years ago. While waiting for him to get the car from the garage, I ran into an old male classmate. We chatted briefly, catching up on the way home. Alex was silent, his face dark. Carefully, I asked, "What's wrong?" He stared ahead, his expression blank, and said something that pierced straight through me. "Do you fall for every guy you meet, Emma? Your love is awfully cheap." At the time, I swallowed my pain, convincing myself it was just jealousy that he loved me too much. But how could love feel so degrading? Why did it always leave me licking my wounds in silence, trying to heal myself? Looking at the man beside me now, all those moments came rushing back. Before I could stop myself, I blurted out from head to toe, "Is there anything you're wearing that I didn't buy for you? Even your boxers. I bought you those red ones for your zodiac year. Why don't you find those unlucky too?" Alex's face turned ashen, caught off guard by my words. I pressed on, letting all my pent-up frustration pour out. "And don't forget, I've slept with you too. Should I regret that as well?" His jaw tightened as he snapped, "Go to hell, Emma. I'm warning you, don't push me." I laughed bitterly. "What are you going to do, kick me out of your car?" He glared at me, his voice low and dangerous. "Sit down and shut up." "Pull over," I demanded, sitting up straight. Alex didn't say another word. Instead, he slammed his foot on the gas, and the sudden acceleration pinned me back against the seat. Instinctively, I grabbed his arm, then quickly let go. He glanced at me out of the corner of his eye but said nothing, keeping his focus on the road. When we arrived at my apartment complex, he practically tossed me out of the car, bag and all. I barely managed. I steadied myself as the car sped off, disappearing from sight. If nothing unexpected happened, that would be the last time we'd ever see each other. It wasn't a graceful ending, but I couldn't quite describe how I felt. The world is vast, but for two people to meet, only a little fate is needed. When that fate ends, we part ways, never to meet again. At dinner, my mom started lecturing me. It wasn't even a matter of principle. "I really don't know what you're thinking," she said. I didn't argue with her. My actions seemed impulsive and overly emotional, but only I knew how cold and bitter my life had been. I didn't want to continue living a life where I constantly compromised. Dumpling's death was the tipping point, but the relationship had long since caused me to lose myself. The outcome wasn't what I had hoped for, and I couldn't accept that. A piece of meat that's already rotting should have been thrown away long before it started to stink. "Let her enjoy her meal in peace," my dad muttered. "What peace?" my mom retorted, slamming her chopsticks down. "She let that man have her for free for years. Is that something to celebrate?" I froze. "Mom, stop it." But she was on a roll. "Am I wrong? You gave up everything for that man. You even changed your college entrance preferences and followed him all the way to City A. So far from home." My mom sighed deeply. "Your dad and I barely managed to accept Alex. He doesn't smoke or drink, and he's so focused on his career. He's the kind of man you can rely on for life. And now, because of some trivial issue, you're unhappy again? Don't ruin things for yourself. The people closest to you always know where to strike to hurt the most." The conversation ended on a sour note. Both of my parents are teachers, and I come from a very traditional family. Everything in my life, from the color of my clothes to where I'd study, work, and eventually settle down, was carefully planned out for me. Even the man I was supposed to marry had to be someone in the field of education. But I've always wanted to prove them wrong. I wanted to show that the choices I made could also be right. Life isn't limited to the paths they've paved for me. I worked hard to justify my choices, and for the most part, they paid off. I felt proud, even smug, thinking that love would follow the same logic, that with enough persistence I could win Alex over. But when it came to Alex, I lost, and I accepted that. Tears slid down my cheeks, cold against my skin, but I found myself smiling. I'm still young, there's time to start over. Life has a higher margin for error than we realize. I won't let one wrong choice define my entire existence. In the middle of the night, I knocked on my mom's door. I knew she wasn't asleep. Parents always worry deeply for their children, planning far into the future. The roads they've walked were successful, so they try to lay down the same paths for us, hoping we'll avoid unnecessary detours. That's all there is to it. She was sitting at the head of the bed, wearing her reading glasses. Working on an old-fashioned cross-stitch, it was her way of coping with insomnia. Under the warm glow of a small lamp, the threads shimmered faintly. Time had left traces of silver in her hair. She glanced at me but said nothing, continuing her stitching. I walked over and hugged her from behind, resting my forehead on her shoulder. "Mom," I said softly. She ignored me, so I tried again. "Mom, don't call me Mom," she snapped. "I'm old and can't control you anymore." Still, she didn't even glance at me. "I want to see the world," I said. "And I want to see it with you and Dad." My tone must have carried too much emotion, as her expression softened slightly. "What's there to see? Your dad and I are already halfway to the grave. We just hoped you could settle down with Alex, and then we could consider our life's mission complete." I countered. "Who decided that's a mission worth completing? Life is long enough for it to become nothing but a series of meals and sleep. But it's also short. We come to this world in a flash, experience it, and then we leave. Why not travel and enjoy life while we can?" She adjusted her glasses and gave me a skeptical look. "Where did you learn this nonsense? It's like you've memorized a script." I leaned closer, still holding her. "I inherited it, of course. My mom is a well-respected language teacher, after all." She smiled, the wrinkles at the corners of her eyes deepening. But as she smiled, tears began to roll down her cheeks. "What will your dad and I do when you're gone? How will we manage without you?" I fought back my own tears, determined to reassure her. "I'm an adult now. I can take care of myself. If you can't always be kind to me, how can you expect others to be? Don't you remember when I went swimming in that pond as a kid? You chased me around with a cane, and you didn't hold back one bit." She laughed through her tears, and for the first time in a long while, the tension in the room eased. My mom put down her cross-stitch and hugged me back. It felt like she had finally accepted the fact that Alex and I were over. She let out a soft sigh and said, "Fine, as long as you're safe and healthy, that's all that matters." My dad, woken by our conversation, came in with a cheerful expression. "You two were so busy arguing earlier. You barely ate anything. You must be hungry now. I'll cook us some noodles." My mom wiped her tears and called out, "Add 2 eggs." In that tiny room, the three of us laughed together. The next morning, my mom woke me up holding a thick stack of photos. "I found you some excellent single men. Take a look and choose." I gave her a sideways glance and joked, "What's the difference? They're all the same." Life became unexpectedly busy but fulfilling in the days that followed. Between attending classes at the institute, I had to make time for various paperwork and visa applications. On top of that, I had to humor my mom's matchmaking efforts. She always insisted, "Just make a new friend. You can never have too many friends." Reluctantly, I went to the blind dates she arranged. The men were polite, well-mannered, and nothing like the shallow, pretentious types I feared. But I had just ended a 6-year relationship, and I wasn't ready to start another one. Gently, I declined when any of them expressed interest in meeting again. I realized that I hadn't thought about Alex in a long time. It turned out forgetting someone wasn't as hard as I had imagined. But just as I stopped thinking about him, he reappeared. Alex and Lucy unexpectedly came into view. From my angle, they were standing very close, with Alex leaning slightly toward her, saying something. His lowered eyes and soft smile radiated a tenderness I hadn't seen before. As if sensing my gaze, Alex turned in my direction. I quickly looked down and averted my eyes, hoping he hadn't noticed me. When I glanced back a moment later, they had already taken a seat. Alex had his back to me, chatting and laughing with Lucy. His words from long ago echoed in my mind. "Will you go your own way or come to CIA with me?" Now it felt like those words had taken on new meaning. The restaurant was lively, packed with people, but the distance between us felt insurmountable. My friend noticed I was distracted and kindly suggested we end the meal early. Outside, I waited for my ride when a car next to me suddenly turned on its headlights. Shielding my eyes from the glare, I squinted and saw the driver. It was Alex. He sat in the car, a cigarette between his fingers, something he never used to do. His gaze was steady, unreadable. After a brief silence, he spoke first. "Was that guy your new boyfriend?" "That's none of your business," I replied calmly. Alex didn't respond directly. He flicked the ash from his cigarette, his eyes lowering slightly. "Did you report me?" I froze, unsure of what he meant. He chuckled softly, seemingly confirming his suspicions. "Stray cats being used in large-scale experiments is pretty common. If you're trying to get back at me with that, it won't work. You'd be better off accusing me of cheating. At least that would be believable." He paused and added, "But that wouldn't hold either, because from beginning to end, there's only ever been you, Emma." I stayed silent, unsure how to respond. Alex laughed again, this time a little bitterly. "I'm with Lucy now. She's great. She's not as dramatic or exhausting as you." I forced a smile and replied, "Congratulations." His eyes narrowed as if he were searching for something in my expression. When he spoke again, his tone was quieter, almost reflective. "About the stray animals being used in experiments." I didn't let him finish, turning away as my ride arrived. Without another glance, I got into the car and left, leaving whatever he had to say behind. This outcome didn't surprise me. I had consulted with professionals, and they told me that at most this issue would attract public scrutiny. However, the impact of public opinion shouldn't be underestimated. Even if the internal criticism was just about Alex letting personal grievances affect his work, he should still face consequences for that. Ling's death, so I sent a report to the upper management of his lab. Bad deeds deserve retribution. It's just a matter of timing. When Alex heard this, he exhaled a puff of smoke, his laughter growing louder and more mocking. "Emma, should I call you naive or just plain stupid? Retribution? That's just what weak people cling to for comfort." A flash of lightning streaked across the sky, signaling an incoming storm. I instinctively took a few steps back to distance myself from Alex, worried about being too close if anything happened. Still, I couldn't help but warn him. "It's going to thunder soon, you should leave." But Alex ignored my words. He got out of his car and walked toward me, speaking as though to himself. "You used to rave about this restaurant's food, so I wanted to give it a try. It's pretty spicy." I choked a few times, but it's tolerable. Alex couldn't handle any spice. Being from the South, eating anything too spicy would give him stomach pain and keep him up all night. During the years we were together, I'd adjusted to his bland diet, even though I loved spicy food. Hearing him now casually say it was tolerable surprised me. I supposed I had Lucy to thank for that. Seeing that I still wasn't responding, Alex opened the passenger door and said, "Let me give you a ride." "No need," I replied. "I already called a car." "Can we at least stay friends?" he asked, looking at me with a mixture of hope and vulnerability. Under his expectant gaze, I slowly and deliberately shook my head. Alex leaned back slightly, a bitter smile tugging at his lips. "I still can't believe it. Is all of this really because of a cat? The first time you gave me the cold shoulder, the first time you ignored me, the first time you fought with me, it was all because of Dumpling. Am I really less important to you than a cat? And that cat was a gift from me, for God's sake. I brought this on myself." I paused, a strange sadness swelling in my chest. Alex, not arguing is what's truly terrifying. We're human. We feel joy, anger, sadness, and happiness. But I never dared to express my dissatisfaction to you, let alone lose my temper, because I knew if I did, you'd be the first to let go. Even at the height of our passion, when we were inseparable, he could still calmly ask me, "Will we go our separate ways, or will you come with me to City A in the future?" He planned. I was never a part of it. This relationship only existed because I held on to it so tightly. The moment I let go, there was no later for us. You knew replacing Dumpling with a similar cat would devastate me, but you still chose work over me. You sacrificed Dumpling because you were certain I wouldn't make a fuss, because you knew I loved you more than anything. My feelings, my choices, my thoughts, they never mattered to you, Alex. When I realized this, it's not that I stopped loving you. I just chose to love myself more. I wasn't finished when Alex stepped forward and grabbed my wrist, as if trying to explain himself. But in the end, all that remained was silence. My car arrived and he gestured for him to let go. His eyes were slightly red, his tone earnest and sincere. "Emma," he pleaded, "I'll change everything. Please come back. Let's go back to how things were. If you're upset, hit me. Take it out on me. I only said I was with Lucy to make you jealous. These days I've missed you so much, so much." Meeting his pleading gaze, I responded coldly, my voice firm and detached. "But Alex, I don't love you anymore," I said. Alex froze, his eyes wide with shock and disbelief. Maybe the weight of those words hit him harder than I expected. Even as I got into the car, he stood there motionless, as if rooted to the spot. The sky seemed to mirror the mood, opening up with a torrential downpour. The sound of heavy rain pounded on the roof, drowning out everything else. As the car pulled away, I glanced back through the rain-streaked window. His familiar silhouette stood tall against the storm, the car's headlights stretching his shadow until it faded into the darkness. The driver, a friendly middle-aged woman, broke the silence. "Young lady, was that your boyfriend?" Startled, I realized it was the same woman I'd met on the train, the one who had kindly given me water. I smiled faintly and corrected her. "No, he's my ex-boyfriend." She raised her brows and asked, "Did he cheat on you?" I thought for a moment. During our time together, at least as far as I knew, Alex had never been unfaithful. I shook my head. The woman sighed lightly. "I've been with my husband since I was 18. I gave him 2 kids and we've been married for more than a decade. He treats me well, hands over his paycheck, and takes care of the family." Her eyes flickered with a touch of pride as she spoke. I was just about to congratulate her when she added, "But he's been keeping a mistress on the side." Her confession left me speechless. She sighed again, this time with resignation. "When I was younger I made a fuss over it, but now the kids are grown I've learned to just put up with it. Men are all the same. As long as they don't go too far and life is manageable, it's fine." She sounded calm, even indifferent, as if she'd made peace with it. But all I saw was a woman who had sacrificed so much for her family, now clinging to self-consolation as a form of survival. Shouldn't fidelity be the bare minimum in a relationship? How did it become a quality worth highlighting as a virtue? To me, infidelity was like a cancerous tumor. If not detected and removed in time, it would spread uncontrollably, leaving no cure. Even if it meant making sacrifices, it had to be dealt with swiftly and completely. My blunt thoughts seemed to catch her off guard. "You're not wrong," she murmured, her expression tinged with surprise. "Love shouldn't mean tolerating everything without limits, nor should it come at the cost of dignity," I added. "Love should be about mutual support, growing together and thriving." Alex didn't return to the city. Instead, he started showing up frequently in my life. On my way to the institute, near my home, anywhere I happened to be, he even wore the clothes I had once bought for him, greeted me as if nothing had changed. I didn't respond, only giving him a polite smile before walking away. It was obvious he was trying to stage some grand romantic pursuit, but I bet his persistence wouldn't last more than a month. He, however, confidently told me, "Just wait and see. I'll prove my determination." It all felt strangely familiar, but I didn't dwell on it. Later, my mom casually mentioned that Alex had bought the house directly across from ours and planned to live there permanently. She'd learned about it because our dishwasher had broken, and Alex had taken it upon himself to fix it. Not just the dishwasher. He replaced light bulbs, repaired furniture, and even painted the walls when needed. "Mom, we're not together anymore," I reminded her, worried she might harbor hopes of us reconciling. She shrugged. "So what? He hurt my daughter. He should make it up to you." Oddly enough, Alex's presence meant my mom stopped setting me up on blind dates. Instead, she found new ways to torment him, throwing rotten eggs at his door or dumping trash on his porch. Her intent was clear, to drive him away. But Alex endured it all day after day. One afternoon, I couldn't stand it any longer. I asked Alex to meet me. He arrived impeccably dressed in a tailored suit, holding a massive bouquet of red roses. The setting I had chosen was far from fancy, a simple barbecue stall. The sight of Alex in his formal attire at such a casual spot drew curious stares from the other diners. Some even nudged each other, whispering while sneaking glances his way. Alex ignored them, his eyes fixed on me. Despite his composed demeanor, I could see the barely contained joy in his expression as he walked toward me. Emma, you're finally willing to see me, Alex said with a glimmer of hope in his voice. I sighed, exasperated. What's the point? What are you doing? A flicker of disappointment crossed his face, but he forced a smile. This time it's my turn to run toward you with no hesitation. My patience was thin. I grabbed the bouquet he had shoved into my arms and smacked it against his face, leaving a few scratches on his once perfect complexion. Alex didn't seem to care. His laugh was hollow, more painful than crying, and his attempt to please me was nothing but pathetic. Listen carefully, Alex. I don't love you anymore. His eyes brimmed with tears as he clutched my shoulders tightly, shaking his head vehemently. You're lying. You're lying to yourself. I stared at him coldly, my words sharp as knives. I even hate you. Before I could finish, Alex silenced me with a forceful kiss. His hands pinned mine in place, rendering me immobile. He expertly pried my lips apart, his eyes closed, lost in his own delusion. I bit down hard, the metallic taste of blood quickly filling my mouth, but Alex didn't flinch, stubbornly continuing as if the pain didn't exist. It wasn't until the driver from before appeared, wielding a security fork, that Alex was finally pinned to the ground. Disgusting scumbag, she shouted. Spat. Alex was detained for 15 days on charges of harassment. When he was released, the driver held my hand tightly, her eyes glistening. Young lady, thank you for waking me up. I've divorced my husband. It's time I started living for myself. We shared a laugh under the night sky, silently celebrating each other's victories. Not long after, Alex's parents came all the way from City A to visit. I assumed they were here because of Alex's behavior, but I was mistaken. They showed up at my doorstep laden with gifts from my parents and carrying their own luggage. Alex's mother clasped my hand warmly. Emma, your dad and I have never been abroad. Now that we're retired, all we do is walk around the neighborhood. It's boring. She glanced at Alex's dad, then leaned in close to whisper. Do you think foreign men are handsome? Never mind, we're here for you. And just like that, I ended up taking 4 people abroad, me for school and them for leisure. With the 4 of us, they even managed to form a mahjong table. One day, I took them to a beachside restaurant. While I was in the restroom, I overheard Alex's mother on the phone. I wasn't trying to eavesdrop, but her voice was hard to ignore. I know, she snapped impatiently. Enough already. I'll make sure your wife stays in line. You just focus on your time in jail. I quietly left, pretending I hadn't heard anything. After dinner, as we exited the restaurant, Alex's mother suddenly grabbed my hand, pointing excitedly. Emma, look. Look over there. Following her gaze, I saw a tall blonde man with striking blue eyes. He looked like a young Leonardo DiCaprio. I want him as my son-in-law, she exclaimed dramatically. As for Alex's perspective, from the moment I was born, I was surrounded by endless affection. Beyond my good looks, I had a wealthy father and a beautiful mother whose stunning features I inherited. There were rumors that my mom married my dad not for love but for personal gain. At first I denied it, but over time I came to accept it as the truth. In my world, from classmates my age to teachers and even school administrators, everyone treated me with excessive kindness and care. At first they seemed approachable and friendly, but once they gained my trust, their true motives surfaced. They were only trying to use me to curry favor with my father to achieve their own selfish goals. My world began to crumble. Friendships were fake, family ties felt insincere, and love seemed like a lie. Everything was false. I became incredibly rebellious after countless incidents, including kicking in the principal's office door. My parents sent me to a small-town high school far away from City A, where no one knew who I was. Teachers and classmates didn't pretend to care. Apart from a few girls swooning over my looks, no one paid me any attention. Most of them were focused on their own lives, dreaming of a future where hard work could make their aspirations come true. I found their naive beliefs laughable. All it takes is a bit of flattery directed at someone with a little influence. I thought that works better than anything. My desk mate was a dark-skinned, spectacled guy who often sighed. I really envy you, Alex, he said. I raised an eyebrow, puzzled, as I played on my handheld game console. Someone like me, average-looking, has to stay at the top of the class just to get a chance for girls to notice me. But look at you, even though you're at the bottom of the grade rankings, you still attract all the girls because you look like that Korean star. What's his name? Cha something. I laughed in disbelief. That was the first time I truly realized how much of my life had revolved around my appearance and background. I decided I wanted to prove that there was more to me than my family name or my face. I wanted people to admire me for something else. I worked hard and the results showed. Teachers began to take notice of me. After every mock exam, the way they looked at me was filled with hope, affirmation, and pride. The girls' gazes, once purely infatuated with my looks, now carried admiration. It wasn't because of the privileges I was born with. It was because of my efforts. I met Emma during my second year of high school. She had fair skin and dimples at the corners of her mouth. She wasn't strikingly beautiful, but she had a pure and adorable charm about her. Like all the other girls who liked me, she brought me water, gifts, and love letters. At first, I turned her down as I had with the others. After a while, I stopped responding altogether. There were many people pursuing me, but not everyone could endure being ignored. Most gave up quickly. After all, not everyone enjoys chasing someone who shows no interest in them. But Emma was different. She didn't give up. She was persistent, cheerful, and seemed to radiate an endless supply of energy. Every day, she greeted me with a bright smile, saying, "Hi Alex, I'm Emma." Before long, I realized that if I didn't see her even once in a day, I felt an inexplicable emptiness. My thoughts began to drift in class and I couldn't focus. Alarmed by these feelings, I tried to shake off the absurd notions in my head. She's just like everyone else, I told myself. She only likes your face. Don't give away your heart so easily. It'll only lead to ruin. I had learned that lesson the hard way when I was younger. I decided to date Emma during senior year. She'd shown up in a tacky yellow dress with garishly bad makeup, thick uneven eyebrows, and clownish blush that made her look ridiculous. To be honest, I was startled. If it hadn't been for her voice, I might not have recognized her. I teased her about her appearance, but my heart was racing the entire time. Thankfully, her nonstop chatter helped mask the sound of my quickened heartbeat. I reasoned with myself, I'm old enough to date. It's not like I'm losing anything. At first, I thought our relationship wouldn't last more than 3 months, but somehow we stayed together for 4 years. Being with Emma was comfortable. She never lost her temper or picked fights with me. She was always there, warm, unwavering, like a steady flame that never burned too hot but never went out. Years later, standing on the balcony of my small apartment in a bustling city, I watched the sunset paint the sky in shades of gold and crimson. Life had moved on in ways I never expected, and so had I. Emma was a memory now, a bright, stubborn force that had once illuminated the darker corners of my life. Her laughter, her resilience, her endless ability to give. Those were things I hadn't truly appreciated until they were gone. We never reconciled. Emma left for a world far beyond mine, chasing her dreams and carving a path entirely her own. I saw glimpses of her life through occasional updates. Photos of her standing in front of monuments, smiling with new friends, and embracing opportunities one once couldn't have imagined her taking. As for me, I stayed in the city, building the career I had always envisioned for myself, but something was missing. The emptiness I used to feel in the quiet moments had grown into a void, a constant reminder of the love I'd taken for granted. One day, while organizing old belongings, I found a letter Emma had written me years ago. It was never meant for me to read. It had been tucked away with other keepsakes from our time together. The words were simple yet cutting. Alex, love isn't just about being there when it's easy. It's about being there when it's hard. I loved you with all my heart, but I couldn't love for the both of us. I hope one day you find a way to love someone truly, deeply, and selflessly, because that's the only kind of love worth having. The letter stayed with me, its message etched into my mind. I realized I'd spent so much of my life trying to control everything, my image, my relationships, my future, that I had forgotten the one thing I couldn't control: someone else's heart. Emma taught me what it meant to love and be loved, and though I'd lost her, the lesson she left behind shaped me into someone better. As I sipped my coffee, watching the last rays of sunlight fade, I allowed myself a small smile. Somewhere out there, I hoped Emma was happy, her world filled with the kind of love she had always deserved. And for the first time in years, I felt at peace, because even though our story had ended, It had changed me in ways that would last a lifetime.